The Three Graces by William Wyon is arguably one of the most beautiful coins released from the Royal Mint over the last couple of years. And now we have a bullion bar version to companion with it. However, it's certainly not as pretty, certainly not as beautiful. And there are some issues with this that I don't like in terms of its longevity. However, I have still bought one. So we're going to have a good close look at it here today and review it for all of its positives and negatives, and see whether or not it is something that you might want to buy for your stack. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a warm welcome to you all joining me for this week's edition of In Focus Friday, the show where we take a good close look at cool things made of silver or gold. And today we're going to be checking in on the latest in the Great Engravers Bullion bar series from none other than the Royal Mint. Now this is the second in the series following the very successful Una and the Lion, and it's the Three Graces. If you're not familiar with the Three Graces, of course it's one of the Great Engravers coin series. I've got here the 2-ounce silver proof to look at the design side by side. It's a very successful series, and of course the Royal Mint not one to let sleeping dogs lie, and they have of course looked to cash in on a bullion product range. So we're going to have a good close look at this, talk about some of its good features, some of its less than good things that I'm not necessarily a massive fan of, talk about it as a product generally, and also its potential going forward as an invested collectible or a collectible that you want to invest in. Whatever you want to call it, we're going to try and have a good, honest discussion about this. I do want to say that I have purchased this with my own money. I'm not sponsored by the Royal Mint in any way. And of course, I'm not giving financial advice. If you like this product, having watched this video, then it's your decision whether or not you want to go and buy it. Now, with that said, I would love to know your thoughts and opinions on this as we go throughout, so please do feel free to comment down below, and if you haven't hit that thumbs up button, please do so, it helps the channel a lot, and hit subscribe if you've not subscribed already. So the first bar in the series was the Una and the Lion, and it was very popular. The Great Engravers series, of course, took everybody by surprise in terms of how successful it was. From the release of the Una and the Lion, you know, massive, I've talked about it at length, the massive prices that you could achieve for the 2-ounce gold, 50, 60, 70,000 pounds some people managed to flip those coins for, which was just mental. And the silvers as well going for 6, 7, 8,000 pounds. So it was inevitable, I think, that the Royal Mint, having seen the massive success of that coin series, would come out with a bullion product to go alongside it. And in many ways, I commend the Royal Mint for that, because it's actually pushing the boundaries a little bit as well. The Royal Mint doesn't have a great range of bullion bar products, and I think they're actually really popular in terms of that niche. You know, coins are coins and they are beautiful, don't get me wrong, but bars I think have this special interest for a lot of people out there. So it is nice to have that diversity. That said, there is one major issue that I have with it being in a bar form, and that is that it is not capital gains tax exempt. Some people misunderstand the rules, saying that anything that the Royal Mint issues is tax exempt, capital gains tax exempt when you look to sell it. But that's not the case with this, because it's not a gov-minted coin. Now, one thing that I've always wondered is that you know, you've got gov-minted coins in rectangular form from the Perth Mint, the dragon bars. So why can't we have this as a coin bar? That would then make it capital gains tax exempt. So whilst these are very, very attractive looking bars and very pretty, they don't necessarily, in my mind, represent something that would be a kind of big stack to buy. If I had the cash, I'm not going to buy 20, 100 of these, because that tax exemption status is really important. Now, in terms of the aesthetics of the design, I think there's absolutely no argument to be said that the Una and the Lion is superior, I think, in every single way, from the just beauty of the actual lion and Una herself, and the background with this lovely, beautiful wavy pattern on the reverse as well. That pattern just absolutely crazy beautiful, so loving it. And the matte finish on the Royal Mint logo. When you come over to the Three Graces version, it's nice, but this kind of background here is very symmetrical, it's very kind of just samey, whereas at least with the Una and the Lion, I think you can see this beauty that's in that chaos of those swirls, which is just lovely. And there's no matte finish on the finish of the Royal Mint and the logo. So certainly from a design perspective, inferior to the Una and the Lion. Is it still nice? Do I still aesthetically like it? I have to say it is nice. I like it. I do quite like the contemporary style. It's a very good mix of the kind of the old history of this piece and this new modern take on its framing. So the framing is what makes it contemporary in my book. We've got these kind of radial sunray patterns in the background. For me, it's more of a contemporary design. If you look at the way that the actual Three Graces coin design is put on the coin, which is very close to the original of the Three Graces by William Wyon in the first place, you can see that this is a much more traditional kind of look and pose for the Three Graces, which, if you didn't know, they represent the countries of England, Scotland and Ireland and their unity, which I think is good. I always think it's a bit sad as well that there's not a fourth grace to represent Wales, but that's maybe a topic for discussion at another time. Now, one thing that I have heard a few people say and talk about in social media and other videos is poor old Grace on the right here doesn't look quite right. Now, for me, I'm not one to judge on what people's looks are. Trust me, I have a face for a faceless YouTube channel, but I will tender an agreement that there is, I think, something that's just a little bit off about the detail of the faces of this particular design of the Graces. If we go super close into here, you can really see some of the detail is lost. I think it's the smooth edges of the faces here, of the cheeks. That's very sort of reminiscent of that Victorian era, of that time in history, and that's, I think, lost somewhat here, which is why I feel that this is much more of a contemporary design and look and feel to the pieces. I think this is this kind of modern look of how these coin designs are, and I've seen it on other coins like the modern day Britannias as well. I think they're just trying to bring the modern look of a person into these coins and bars in their design. But of course, they're trying to meld the history of this particular coin design with the period of history, but it doesn't necessarily work quite as well. So from my perspective, yes, I will agree that there's something a little bit off about this in terms of that aesthetic and in terms of that design. And that's, I think, the only thing that is not great about this for me in terms of the design. Otherwise, I do think from, when you're looking at it from afar, it's beautiful and it sits very nicely against the Una and the Lion piece as well. There is no doubting that as a companion set, they really are very pretty when laid out together. And hopefully we're going to see more of these to come as well. One would hope that there's going to be the Gothic crown, perhaps in the quartered arm and portrait versions, but I don't know, maybe they'll just do a Gothic crown one and have both parts of that design on one bar. But nevertheless, that will be an interesting eclectic collection to build going forwards. So I think this is a pretty good piece, but from my perspective, I have only bought the gold. And I want to just quickly touch on that going forwards here. So for those that don't know, the mintage on this is 4,000. I think that's a pretty good low mintage. I've seen 1 ounce gold coins from the Royal Mint with mintages of, around that point, 5,000, 1,000, do exceptionally well in terms of demand, popularity, and of course the growth of the premium over a long period of time. This premium was around 10% if you buy just the one coin. It does, of course, drop down a little bit, but not a great deal. I mean, you're talking about getting a £20 discount per 1 ounce gold bar if you buy 100 of them. So if you're willing to spend £160,000, you'll save yourself £2,000. It's not necessarily the best kind of pricing mechanism there. But, it is a premium product, and that's, I think, reflected in that price point. However, when it comes to the silver, those price points start to become a lot more dear. So the 10 ounce silver and the 1 ounce silver. The 10 ounce silver has a mintage of 6,100 bars and is currently, with VAT, remember, that's the big crux, with VAT, is about 95% over spot price. Which is, you're realming into the territory of like artisanal pieces of like poured silver or the likes there, and you're looking at a machined, big, chunky 10 ounce bar. It's not in my books something that I want to look to buy. The 1 ounce versions of the silvers have a mintage of, I think, 36,000. Yep, 36,000 I'm reading, and that's fine. 36,000 on a relatively cool looking product, I think is acceptable. However, at the price points that we're seeing them for, which is, £29 basically for a single, then you add VAT on the top, you're looking again about the sort of 95 to 100% premium on that. I know for my money anyway that if I was looking to buy a product, I wouldn't necessarily be putting my money into a 1 ounce minted bar like that for £35. I'd want something a little bit more niche, a bit more collectible, a little bit better than that, something that even had a lower mintage or even perhaps a better design. So from my perspective, the VAT there is the killer. If you're international customer, then yeah, you could certainly look to buy it without the VAT attached to it. Perhaps when they come to a dealer in the US, you could get hold of them if you're in the US for a lot cheaper. But therein lies one of the problems, I think, in this global market that we're in, where we're all kind of interconnected. For me, if I were to buy, 20, 100 of the silver versions of this bar to make profit on to sell at some point in the future, all I've got to do is think about, well, how am I going to sell them? And immediately, the customers in America and outside of the UK who are not paying the VAT on this, they'll be looking at going, well, why are you trying to charge 20, 30% more than I can buy it for? So my market immediately becomes only UK customers, and that's a very limited market for these types of products. So from a liquidity point of view, from a just general protection point of view, that is a big issue for me. If they'd come out and they were decently cheaper, and they probably ended up around the £29 an ounce mark like Britannia's do, I would probably have bought one, maybe just to show on the channel, but beyond that, it's just unfortunately a no-go, which is a little bit of a shame, but that's the way it goes, unfortunately. So there we have the Three Graces 1 ounce gold bar. I know for my money that I prefer the coin form, but I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions down below. So please feel free to comment with your thoughts on this particular coin and anything that I've talked about in today's video. If you've enjoyed our style of review and ramble, then let YouTube know by hitting that thumbs up button. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, then please do so. We're closing in on 40,000 subscribers. And when we hit that mark, we're going to do a little bit of a giveaway. So make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notifications of future videos and said giveaway. Otherwise, that is it from me. A big thank you to you all for watching. We'll see you on the next one. As always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.